0 against Bitcoin.
It's going up forevermore.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simple Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, breaking news, culture, dramatic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin only live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have lots to talk about today, but we're going to start off like hot right off the beginning. The Overton window last night, once again, not only did it shift, it absolutely exploded in real time. I have footage of it. Pieces went everywhere. You have the potentially an upcoming president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, going on his Truth Social account because he got kicked off Twitter, and he said, "Vote for Bitcoin. Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a central bank digital currency." He goes on to say more, which we'll talk about during the numbers segment. But like, holy cow! Like, I didn't expect this was going to happen so soon. I didn't expect the ETF stuff. I thought, like, you know, the political warfare was going to continue, the lawfare, and they were just going to delay that forever. That got approved. And then within a couple of months, this became, a mainstream electoral issue. Like, Bitcoin is on the ballot in November. And in case anyone doesn't like, the orange man, of course, you have RFK Jr. And then on the other side, which is the reason that we're talking about this, you have the Biden administration that has very openly taken an anti-Bitcoin and pro-CBDC stance. So, I don't think Trump or RFK, I don't think they would have even mentioned Bitcoin. I think that they were forced to do it because they realized that, holy cow, this is a big demographic. Like, this is a big voter base. And if I could appeal to them and say, listen, I'll protect Bitcoin if you get me into office, I might win over their votes. Right. And I don't think it's a situation of because I've saw this so many times on Twitter where it's a situation where Bitcoin needs Trump. It's more so that Trump and RFK need Bitcoin in order to get elected. Like, that is crazy. So, but if you understand the game theory, also should not come to a surprise to you whatsoever, because Bitcoin's incentives are superior. Now, to today's topic of the video, which we're going to cover on today's news, is the question you guys absolutely love when we do these types of shows. So we're going to continue to give you guys what you want, which is, how much Bitcoin do you need to retire? It's an updated version. So I have spent like an hour and a half preparing for today's news segment. So hopefully you guys find some value in it. But we're going to answer the question, how much Bitcoin do you need to retire? Now, there's two different ways to approach it, which I find fascinating. There's like the fiat way of approaching it, and then there's the Bitcoin way. And if you approach it from the fiat perspective, you realize how hard it is to conceivably retire. Like, it's absurdly hard. But if you're living on a Bitcoin standard, I think the vast majority of people are going to be able to retire and live a good life later on when they get older. Which is, this is why we say Bitcoin is hope. This is why we say Bitcoin is optimism. This is why we say Bitcoin gives you the ability to plan for a better future, where fiat steals that ability from you. It incentivizes short-term thinking and short-term behavior, which could be detrimental to you and to your health and to your spirit, right? So this is what Bitcoin does. It fixes things. Anyways, I don't want to delay the show anymore. I do want to bring up my legendary coach. He's always optimistic. No smile today. Optimus Fields.
Sorry, you caught me looking at the chat.
Shirt and everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of vibing. I'm feeling like a Hawaiian shirt. It's a Hawaiian shirt type of day. But the chat's extremely bullish in the chat. They're saying 0.1 BTC is enough. So 1 million sats. Someone said 3 million sats is enough. I think the numbers are a little higher than that one, guys. But hey, man, life's great. What more can I say, Nico? We lived the life. Everything's wonderful. Life is great. I got some sleep in. Everything is good, man. Yeah, your mic's great, Nico. Your mic is great. Okay. We're good, man. Let's bring in our guest, because our guest is probably upping the ante on optimism every time he comes on the show. So let's bring in Brian DeMint.
I wish I had like MMA music, like fighter music, to like, kind of pump them up a little bit. But of course, we have Brian the Mint in the house. Brian the Mint is the head of marketing for our friends over at the Orange Palap, and he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is really impressive.
7 feet tall.
And 7 feet tall, and he's an author as well of the Amazon bestseller Parallel. So man, Brian the Mint, thank you so much for joining us back on Simply Bitcoin Live. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Excuse me, my voice is a little raspy today. I didn't know that the Overton window was a double wide trailer. That was awesome. That boom, and just the double wide went kaboom. That got me pumped though. Yes, I saw you tweeted that out last night about the Overton window shifted. I'm like, things are crazy. I think most Bitcoiners, for whatever reason, like we're used to chaos and we're used to things changing around us, and so we don't tend to get as excited, right? We've trained ourselves to not get too emotional about the volatility of the market or about the volatility of the news. But holy cow, like this is such an exciting time to be a Bitcoiner. This like things are changing. Things are like changing all around us. The world, the Overton window, the way things work, the paradigms, whatever you want to call it, they're shifting right now. Holy freaking cow, what a time to be a Bitcoiner.
100%, man. And they're shifting fast, right? Like it's like it reminds me of the meme, right? There's like the dam, and then there's like creeks in the dam, and then all of a sudden it's like suddenly but surely. I forget what the actual saying is, but yeah, everything's just happening so like all at once, and it's happening very, very quick. I know a lot of people are bored right now, including myself, even though we're at all-time highs, but everyone's like kind of scratching themselves like drug addicts, like when up again, when moon, when green candle, when's it going to come back? So yeah, but I think we're on the verge of that, and really exciting stuff for Bitcoin, for this movement. I think the rest of the year in 2025 is going to absolutely blow everyone's minds away. And again, I've said this before on Nostr or on Twitter, I forget where I said it, but I was basically like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the election year is the year of the halving. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's the genius of Satoshi. I know it's quite controversial, that statement, but I don't think it's a coincidence. Anyways, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor and Opti. Adam wanted us to do something special today. So let's change it up. Anyways, so what is Bitcoin Well, everybody? Bitcoin Well is the platform that Opti and I use to stack automatic Bitcoin into self-custody. What does that mean? That means that you go to bitcoinwell.com, you buy real Bitcoin, you enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. What does automatic self-custody mean? That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Because after all, self-custody is the revolution. Anyways, I do want to pull up the Bitcoin Well thing, which I'm having trouble logging into. Opti, could you pull it up on your end, please?
Yeah, I got you. One sec.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I think I got it now. There we go. Boom.
We do this live.
We'll do this live. Adam wanted us to do it live, so we're doing it live. Here we go. All right, everybody. So every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn these points, right? So every time you buy Bitcoin, you earn points, and you could throw those points towards the Bitcoin wishing well. So toss a coin, win some sats. I'm going to contribute 500 points. You're being transported back to 1996 when the Tamagotchis are the must-have virtual pet. Toss your coin into the Bitcoin wishing well and wish for a better future. Here we go. You can win up to 1 million sats. I'm going to leave this QR code on the screen for you guys so you can scan it. But just to give you a warning, though, if it's 1 million sats, apparently you're going to be competing with Opti as well.
210,000 sats and the million sats are competing with me.
We're going to flick another coin in the Bitcoin wishing well. It says you're being transported back to 1997 when Men in Black is blending sci-fi and comedy. So let's toss another coin wishing well. Boom. Another 500 sats for you guys on screen. And one more time, you're being transported back to 1999 when the Matrix is redefining sci-fi cinema. One more coin in the Bitcoin wishing well. Here we go. And there, you can scan the QR code on your screen, claim rewards. Guys, support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps. And of course, the one that we support is bitcoinwell.com. Head over there today or scan the QR code on your screen. All right, let's hit the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stampseed website where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 69,390 sats per dollar, 1,441. Block height 847,645, blocks to halving 202,355, halving estimate March 25th, 2028, total Lightning Network capacity 4,801 Bitcoin, capacity value 333 million US dollars, realized monetary inflation 1.6%, market capitalization 1.37 trillion, Bitcoin versus gold market cap 8.57%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. Anyways, this was the big kahuna of the news. And of course, you have a potential president, and he met with 3 of the 5 largest miners in the world. And apparently they met at Donald Trump's club, Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach. So let's check it out. This is crazy. I mean, I didn't think that this was going to happen so quickly. And, you know, those are the CEOs or, you know, executives of those publicly traded Bitcoin miners. And after the event, late last night, almost at midnight, he went on Truth Social and said, "Vote for Trump. Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a central bank digital currency. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA, and it will help us be energy dominant." I mean, look, if he gets elected, now you have a politician, now you have the president of the United States, the leader of, you can make a very strong case, the world's strongest country, most powerful country, now competing to get more hash rate in the country. Like, that is absolutely nuts. And I was telling you, like, when countries compete to try to entice you to, you know, mine in their country because it's a favorable jurisdiction, potential tax benefits, maybe, you know, you win. I think the Bitcoin network benefits from that. I think this is the game theory playing out in real time right up in your face. Here is Pierre Richard. He's VP of Research at Riot. And he says Trump's campaign promises on Bitcoin policy are very easy for him to keep. He's promising to not do anything, to not attack. This is in stark contrast to Biden, who has attacked at every opportunity. And that's really important because this wasn't something that us Bitcoiners chose. Like, I remember like the approach that we've taken at Simply until they really locked they locked the samurai guy. They put those guys in a box. They locked them in jail, and I lost it. I remember having that conversation with Opti. Opti's like, "Dude, are we gonna have to move? Like, this self-custody thing is crazy." And I remember going on the air the next day, and I made the case for you guys. I'm like, guys, like, this isn't a left versus right thing. Like, this isn't a Democrat versus Republican thing. But the reality is that, like, you have one party at the moment that's taken a very anti-Bitcoin and pro-CBDC stance that has led to consequences like a lot of Lightning wallets and Lightning companies are just pulling out of the United States altogether, right? So you have that on one side, and on the other side, you have both RFK and Donald Trump that have taken a pro-Bitcoin, anti-CBDC stance. I mean, that says a lot, in my opinion. Anyways, here is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, David Bailey. And he says, what's happening right now with Bitcoin and Trump isn't just the transformation of America's Bitcoin regulatory regime. It's the end state of the current world order and the beginning of a new one. What's happening right now will be remembered for hundreds of years, a turning point. Here is David Bailey once again. People, I am telling you, this is a unique moment in time. Swamp the vote, turn out by the millions, elect Donald Trump, and we will change the course of history. I mean, this is crazy. And I know, Opti, you feel the same way, brother. I know you do, dude. Like, you've been here in the trenches with me. Here's Ross Ulbricht. And again, referencing, it's not only about Bitcoin. Donald Trump at the Libertarian Conference said that if he were to get elected president, he pledged to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht on day one. Obviously, this is someone that I would say his sentence was politically motivated, to say the least. I think the reason that he resonates with so many Bitcoiners is I think that Bitcoiners see him as a martyr for our movement. And, you know, it, like, when we know we've won is when Ross is out of prison. Like, that's when we know we've accumulated enough influence, enough power in society. What I didn't expect was going to happen is it happening so quickly. I was anticipating 2028, but of course, nobody knows what Bitcoin's going to do. Bitcoin time is a lot faster than slower, you can make the argument for. And yeah, I mean, this is crazy, but I think it's a testament. I'm going to say it again. I think it's a testament to the power of Bitcoin, the power of this movement. And it tells me that we're winning, bro. Look, the fact that politicians have to come to us and beg, be like, could you please vote for me? Like, it tells me that we're winning. It tells me that we're winning big. Anyways, Opti, how do you feel about this, bro? This is crazy, dude. I mean, this is nuts. He's saying all the right things. Shout out also to the Bitcoin Magazine crew, our friends over there, because they've done an incredible job coaching the Orange Man. And, you know, anyways, Opti, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been covering this for a few weeks, and I literally was on the phone with another Bitcoiner that also works in the industry, and we were kind of, you know, parsing out what's going on. And, you know, we were very black-pilled on the show after the Samurai wallet developers got arrested. And I think we all felt like, oh man, you know, this fight is coming to our doorstep. And now we really got to think about what our next moves are going to be. And then following a couple weeks after Trump officially came out as like pro Bitcoin, the narrative has shifted 100%. And so now I am kind of feeling a little white pilled in regards to what's going on in Bitcoin in America. Though with all that being said, I do still have my head on a swivel because you guys already know me. I don't really trust politicians first and foremost, but it is good to hear this type of rhetoric. And of course, like, I love hearing the nod to the Bitcoin industry from Donald Trump. I love the fact that Bitcoin Mag is on the forefront and trying to educate Trump. With that Truth Social post, though, there is a few things that I would like to say. First and foremost, as much as I like the idea of like bringing, you know, Bitcoin mining and what do you say? Like, I want to make sure that all the last Bitcoin is made in America, though it sounds good. It's a good talking point. I think there's still like a fundamental misunderstanding on Trump on how Bitcoin mining works, because personally, I wanted mining decentralized across the globe because then there's no jurisdiction that can actually attack and stop Bitcoin. I think that would hurt Bitcoin's decentralization. But still, having that nod to Bitcoin, obviously it feels good. And I don't want to completely just like jump on the bandwagon here and be like, okay, you know, Orange Man good because he loves Orange Coin. But it's good at least having these conversations. It's good that this conversation is happening. And for better or worse, if Trump's the guy that spearheads this conversation, now everyone is going to have a pro Bitcoin or anti-Bitcoin stance in the 2024 election. I think this is a good thing. And we've been talking about this for a while. We thought it would be probably 2028 that this was like the defining conversation. Now the timeline has moved up. So I think this is all good for Bitcoin, obviously. And then on the CBDC front, of course, we always say it's Bitcoin or slavery. It's Bitcoin versus CBDC. Though I'm starting to lean into the idea that we probably won't ever have a federal CBDC rollout in the US because we already basically have a CBDC and they're called stablecoins. And so we have anti-CBDC legislation already basically being talked about. Yes, of course, I love the fact that Donald Trump is kind of leaning into the rhetoric and being like, yeah, I won't allow a CBDC on my watch. You know, I'm going to stop Elizabeth Warren's goons and all that stuff. With that being said, I am still a bit cautious in regards to the power that stablecoins are going to have. And it's basically going to, you know, thrust dollarization into places that the dollar could never have reached because of everyone embracing stablecoins. And so as much as I like this conversation, it still makes me a little weary because I'm seeing a lot of politicians out there basically saying, you know, stablecoins and Bitcoin are good, but CBDCs are bad. And I'm like, a stablecoin is basically already a CBDC. So like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still keeping my head on a swivel. Of course, as we've been saying, this does, in my opinion, also really explode the Overton window. And now it's going into overdrive right now. And as a Bitcoiner, of course, I love to see this. And then as someone that's the reigning tinfoil hat wearer on Simply Bitcoin, I'm like, all right, like where's the attack vector? Where is it coming from? We can't trust politicians, but I think I think this is a good development. And I know everyone in the chat's like, oh, you know, voting's fake and politicians, we don't need them. And while I do agree, where we are in the story right now, politics still has a huge hold on society. And I think it's pretty clear if you're a Bitcoiner, like, look, I'm a California Mexican. I'm basically a default Democrat as far as I was concerned. And now I'm like, yo, the choice is very simple. We have one side, the Democrats actively fighting Bitcoin, the Bitcoin industry, and every one of us as individuals. And then the opposite side basically being, look, all right, I don't want to stop the Bitcoin industry. I want to embrace it. There's a lot of money here. Obviously, that's where they're coming from. And if you scare away Bitcoiners, you're scaring away the future of not only finance, but technology. And I really love that you brought up the Pierre Rochard tweet because I totally agree. It's like one side, the Democrats have actively been fighting Bitcoin. And if Trump, all he has to do is basically not fight us, and he actually upholds what he's saying on this, you know, political election run. But again, he's a politician. Politicians say a lot of things when they're trying to get elected. So if he does get elected, we got to, as Bitcoiners, make sure that he actually upholds what he's saying. But again, he's a politician. He's going to say whatever he wants to say to get elected. So with all that being said, I think this is a good development.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyways, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button and help us break 100 likes within the first hour of the show. Anyways, I'm going to pass on the mic to Brian DeMint. Brian, I mean, this is a crazy timeline, dude. Like, what the? If you would have told me this was happening 2 years ago, I would not have believed you whatsoever.
No, this is incredibly risky for Trump. Very, very risky. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that Trump is courting a high signal voter base. To me, that screams of, you know, whatever you think about Trump. I mean, again, we as Bitcoiners we inherently do not trust politicians, but that is a very bold move by Trump to court a voter base who, if you don't listen to that voter base, they will turn on you very quickly. Not only will they turn on you or stop supporting you, but they'll turn on you and become anti-Trump. So if Trump courts us, if he courts us and brings us in and says that he's going to do all these things, and then he gets in there and then doesn't free Ross, and then he, you know, signs CBDC legislation, and then he, you know, puts regulators in place of Bitcoin mining and puts traps in place, then guess who's coming after Trump? The entire left is coming after Trump, which they've been doing. But now you have people who are on the right, who are libertarian, who are on the left. You have a coalition of people who aren't just a bunch of NPC voters. These are high signal, high influence voters. And they're not just people that are on Twitter. They're not just people that are on social media, but they're people that have economic votes. Economic votes with money, people that have buying power, that is so much more powerful than just the NPC voters. Like, you know, Opti and I live here in California. That California is an NPC voter state. It's non-playable character state where it's not even, if you look at the electoral maps, there's some states that are flipping back and forth, like, Wisconsin goes Democrat sometimes and then they go red. That shows that they at least have a light bulb on in their head. Like they're like navigating through politics. But in California, we're just dark blue. That's it. Like California's just voting for one side and it doesn't matter what the issues are. But when you court Bitcoiners, they're very perceptive to the issues. They're very perceptive to what's right and what's wrong and what's just and what's fair. And like you guys said, it's just about staying out of the way. But as soon as you tread on Bitcoiners are going to bite, and they're going to bite hard.
Amen to that.
Agreed.
Amen to
Hey,
that.
Nico,
Yeah.
actually, there's something I did want to say, because yesterday I was kind of giving you flack about that it's a stretch to think that politicians would just get out of the way and let Bitcoiners do what they want to do. And the very next, like 6 hours later, we have Trump that's basically like, yeah, I'm just, I'm going to let you guys do what you do. So, I'll take the egg on that one, Nico. I guess maybe you were right.
I mean,
let me say something real quick too. I don't know. Did any of you guys hear David Bailey? He went in on it was like 11 o'clock last night on West Coast time. Did you guys hear that? So
I didn't tune into it. Yeah. What did he say?
He did a Twitter space last night, or an X space. And one line that stuck out to me that he said was, guys, if I could share everything from the meeting, if I could just share it, not saying that anything's implemented, but if I could just share what Trump was talking about yesterday, Bitcoin would be at 100K tomorrow. Now,
for sure.
I don't know what that means, but the things that Trump is talking about aren't just like, oh, I'm going to be anti-CBDC. It sounds like it's very, very pro Bitcoin. Now, that can be kind of scary, right? Because we don't want a bunch of positive regulation around Bitcoin, because those can be snares and traps. But I think David Bailey's smart enough to understand that a hands-off approach is probably the best approach forward. So that was a quote from David Bailey. He didn't say what it was, but he said Bitcoin would be 100K tomorrow if I could publicize what our meeting was about.
I believe it. And by the way, they've done such an incredible job.
I was going to say the same thing. At this point, shouts out to the Bitcoin Mag. I know you guys give them a lot of shit, but like they do a lot of stuff on the back end that you guys don't see on Twitter. And I got to give a big shout out to the whole Bitcoin Mag team, because I think they're actually moving the needle forward. As much flack as you can give them for the ordinal stuff, we know, but we still love them. They're still doing work that you guys don't see publicly.
Absolutely, man. Definitely doing Satoshi's work. Anyway, shout out to the 1,200 of you guys watching between YouTube and X. Also, shout out to the 60 of you guys watching on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Before we transition to the news segment, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Opti, can you pull it up, please? The Pleb Party in Nashville. It's going to be hosted the day before the largest Bitcoin conference ever, Bitcoin 2024. It's a 12-hour open bar party from noon to midnight, hosted in Nashville, Tennessee, at an amazing rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. It's going to be an amazing venue. Confirmed attendees so far include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, and many, many more. The last party in Miami sold out 8 days before the party, so you want to get your tickets quickly just in case they sell out, and also you could take advantage of the lower prices. I think there's only like 20 or so tickets left at the $200 price point. Over 1,000 Bitcoiners are expected to attend. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description to find out more information, and we'll see you at the Pleb Party in Nashville, Tennessee on July 25th. All right, everybody, let's move on to the news. Lots to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. You can, once again, scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you guys can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Imagine that conversation you're going to have with your grandchildren, and they're going to find out that you have some Bitcoin. They're going to find out that you have 1 million sats, right? Imagine being put in a situation where you have to explain to your little grandchildren why you lost their generational wealth. It'd be a terrible situation, right? And you can just hear Opti and I laughing in the background saying, "We told you so."
No, we're nice, Nico. We're nice. You're the mean one here.
Okay. So we're not going to do that. But you definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation, which is why you want to get yourself a hardware wallet. And of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. You can scan the QR code or check the link in the video description to find out more information. So I do want to give, I want to start off with a meme because memes are very powerful, and a little hat tip to Opti. So this is the Citadel meme, and it kind of breaks down all the Bitcoin levels, but a lot of this doesn't make sense. Like the make it, the break it, the suicide stack, generational
This meme's
wealth.
also like 10 years old though, Nico. So
It's also 10 years old, but you're just like, wow, like, especially these days, right? 10 Bitcoin is out of the hands of a lot of people, right? So I did a lot of research this morning, and I'm going to start off with this image. So first, here's the global wealth distribution pyramid, right? And it breaks it down, how many people fit into each into each part of the pyramid, right? So at the very top, you have only 60 million people worldwide that are worth roughly $1 million or more. Now, what's incredibly bullish about that statistic is if you divide 21 million Bitcoin by 59 million millionaires, you only get 0.35 Bitcoin per billionaire if they're evenly divided. So what's the action item here? Get to 0.35 BTC, because you'll be like on a world scale, as rare as someone, that has $1 million today. You can also make an argument that with inflation and all that, $1 million is not what it used to be. Also, let's address the question on today's topic, which is how much Bitcoin do you need to retire? So I'm going to take a different approach that I did last time. I always want to change this up for you guys because I know that you guys love this topic. So what I did is I asked Google's AI, said, how much money do you need to retire? And this is the rule that it came back. It came up with the 25x rule. It's a retirement planning guideline that suggests saving 25 times your annual expenses before you retire. The rule is based on the idea that a well-invested retirement portfolio can consistently provide 4% of its value each year to cover living expenses, which is known as the 4% rule. To calculate your number, 25x number, you can multiply your monthly expenses by 12 to get your annual expenses. Multiply your annual expenses by 25. For example, if your monthly expenses are $6,000 a month, your 25x number would be 1.8 million. The 25x rule has some advantages, including simplicity, focuses on portfolio size, encourages living below your means. However, the rule has some limitations, including neglects important factors and oversimplification. I would say, just being in Bitcoin since it's been quite a while now, a long and tumultuous journey, to say the least. I would say simple is a good thing, right? Simply is a good thing. Simple is a good thing. I think that if you overcomplicate things don't have to be overcomplicated. What I've noticed also too, like you'll notice with like a lot of these like wealth management firms and like these financial products, they'll try to overcomplicate it on purpose so that you don't understand it. Anyways, so kind of addressing today, like what is the number? So first, and this is low depending on your state, right? So New York, California, those are high income states. So the cost of living is going to be a lot higher than this, but I took the average for the US. And feel free, like you guys already know the formula, go to the 25x rule, and it's very simple math if you guys want to change the numbers. But for the sake of this episode, let's use the average household's monthly expenses, which are $6,081. That was the monthly expenses for the year of 2022. So the average annual income after taxes is $83,000 from $78,000 in 2022. So I just took the expenses because that's what the 25x rule said. And I did 6,081 multiplied by 12 is 73,000. 25 times 73,000 is 1.82 million. At 69K per Bitcoin, you'll need 26.37 Bitcoin to retire. Now I know that seems out of the hands of a lot of people. And this is why I said that there's two different ways of looking at this. There's the way of looking at it via fiat, and there's the way of looking at it via Bitcoin. And I think if you look at it from the perspective of Bitcoin, things change a little bit. So what is, the 25x rule? Like, why is it 25x specifically? Well, it says the rule is based on the idea that a well-invested retirement portfolio can consistently provide 4% of its value each year to cover living expenses, which is known as the 4% rule. Now, there lies one of the problems with the issue fundamentally, which is like, why do I have to become an investor just to maintain my purchasing power? Like, that idea is nuts. If the money was working, right? If sound money were a thing, you would just save in sound money. Of course, investments would be there. There would be investment opportunities, but you would always have in the back of your mind, is this investment going to keep up with Bitcoin, right? And that kind of changes the conversation a little bit. And the 4% aspect kind of gets thrown out the window, right? If you take a very conservative approach, people are anticipating, 10 to 20% compound growth in Bitcoin's history moving forward. And again, that's a very, very extremely conservative approach. And then I also want to introduce this other idea, which is Bitcoin brings deterministic optimism to the table, and it brings hope to the table. What do I mean by that? When you transition to a Bitcoin standard, it's not a question of will you be able to afford something if you work hard enough. It's a question of when will you be able to afford something when you work hard enough. There is a cost to number go up technology, and that cost is time. That's the cost you're paying, right? But if you do simple math, and I did it for you guys in the beginning, 21 million Bitcoin, if you divide those by the equally by the 59 million millionaires that are on planet Earth, just the millionaires, I'm not talking about all of planet Earth, you get 0.35 BTC per millionaire, right? So anyways, I'm going to end it with this calculation, which my friend Jimbo developed, and you guys could check it out. I'll put it in the chat if you guys want to plug in your numbers yourself. And also you can send him some sats if you guys want to donate to him and kind of support this project that he developed back in 2022. It's called Wen Moon. It's hosted on observablehq.com. Whoa, did you guys hear the lightning in the background? That was nuts. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's going crazy in Miami right now. Anyways, so the name of this project is Wen Moon. Give my Bitcoin stack. When can I retire? This notebook helps you estimate the date at which you can live forever on a given Bitcoin stack. It goes, obviously, it gives the warning. Making predictions about the future is notoriously difficult. Obviously, no one knows. But what I would say when using these types of tools is take an extremely conservative approach, right? Like, be bearish. And I think that will kind of, give you a good idea. So let's be bearish. Let's be ultra conservative. Let's say the inflation rate is not at 3%. It's actually at 4%. And let's say the annual Bitcoin appreciation rate is not at 50, that a lot of people, if you look back, it's been on average 250%. People are anticipating that. I'll throw it to Brian. Brian, what do you think the compound appreciation rate of Bitcoin is going to be for the next 10 years?
I don't think it decelerates at all. I personally think that it's still going 150% a year for 10 years. I think that that's actually probably on the lower side. Yeah. Based on worldwide adoption, I think it'll be higher than that, but let's just I don't want to throw your calculations off by even being that high. So if you want to go conservative,
let's do two. Let's do two. We'll do someone said 40% in the chat, Nico, and then we can do 100.
Let's we have the time. It's about this episode, right? We have plenty of time, so let's experiment, right? And this is what I'm really glad that Brian put that 150%, right? I'm really glad because it again, I think highlights the hope that is Bitcoin versus the fiat system. So let's compare and contrast. Under the fiat system, if you are to follow the 25x rule, just to retire on the average income, Brian and I both know that 73K in Miami and California is absolutely nothing, right? But again, this is kind of like the average for the country, right? $73,000. And if you go anywhere else in the world, $73,000 is a lot of money. You could live pretty well. But that's why I'm using it for this example specifically. But if you just wanted to retire on 73K, you would need $1.82 million, right? That's not accounting for the part of your income that you're going to put in taxes, you're going to put in housing, you're going to put in healthcare. That's not accounting any of that. You'd need 1.82 million just to feel like you can retire peacefully. I think that's unachievable for most people, in my opinion. Like, unless you're extremely disciplined, you know what you're doing. I think for most people, I think reaching that number is going to be very, very difficult. Now, let's talk about what Brian just said. What about on Bitcoin? What about saving on Bitcoin? What about hoping to retire on a Bitcoin standard? That conversation changes dramatically. So Brian expects 150% Bitcoin appreciation rate over the next 10 years. Let's keep the 73,000 the same. Let's keep the USD increase 4%, so 1% over what it's currently being reported as, and your stack size. Now, what's really crazy about this with these high numbers is that your moon date would actually be this year.
5 months. Wait, 3 months from now. Let's go.
So if you just have one Bitcoin, you could, and it appreciates 150% over the next 10 years, you can theoretically retire this year, which is absolutely nuts. But okay, let's go a little bit down, because I know that one Bitcoin is out of the reach, out of the reach of a lot of people, especially if you're new to Bitcoin, your class of 2024, class of 2023. I want to be respectful to you guys. So let's just put it down. 0.1 Bitcoin, right? When is your moon date? 2027. So 2027, if Bitcoin's annual appreciation rate is 150, you can theoretically retire off 0.1 Bitcoin. So 0.1 Bitcoin is currently going to cost you $6,900. Now compare and contrast that with this. So $6,000 versus 1.82 million. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. Annual appreciation rate is a bit high. Okay, so let's go ultra conservative. If this hit 20%, I would be highly disappointed, but let's just do it for the sake of this, right? Your retirement would be 2054. So 2054, I think that's 30 years from now, right? So if you're 30, that's roughly, you're roughly 60 years old, or 65 or 60. Yeah, literally like 60 years old.
And that's with 10 million sats?
That's with 10 million sats. So that costs you $6,900 today. And Brian, get this. This is only with an annual Bitcoin appreciation rate of 20%, which we know, like...
And with no further stacking as well.
No further stacking, just 0.1. That's it.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah. So contrast that with this. Like, what fiat world is telling you is dude, you somehow got to manage to put together $1.84 million in fiat for you to retire, versus, dude, just buy $6,900 worth of Bitcoin, wait 30 years and you'll be able, don't worry about it, right? Like, it's night and day. And this is why I say Bitcoin is deterministic optimism. Bitcoin is hope in a world of fiat darkness. Bitcoin gives you the ability to plan, right? Anyways, I do want to pass it on to Opti. Opti, do you want to plug in some numbers?
Let's plug some numbers in here. So we could keep one Bitcoin. We'll keep that, up the inflation to like 15, and then we'll go with Brian's 150 appreciation rate.
Okay, so the moon date would be 2027.
That's crazy. 10 million sats?
10 million sats.
That's crazy. Do a whole coin for the whole coiners out there.
2024.
We're retiring the end of this year. Let's go.
You got a few months.
Okay. Well, I shouts out to Jimbo. I haven't seen you in a minute, bro. Love you. Love the work you do. Go get some of Jimbo's playing cards. Actually, I think those are not being sold anymore. Those are collector's editions now. Anyways, I think the sentiment in the chat is seeing these numbers, especially in fiat terms, is all probably making us feel like we have the delete yourself stack because we're all poor and we're all like, man, I need more Bitcoin. It kind of goes down to the whole idea of like you never have enough Bitcoin. And this is why I always say, and I'm glad that Brian brought this up, the idea, and I always kind of joke about it and I put it in meme form, but like we're playing Hungry Hippo. I don't foresee a time in my future where I won't be saving in Bitcoin, especially once you understand that Bitcoin is the best store of value, period. It's the best money, period. What else are you going to save your money in? So I think part of this is the idea that like you want to build your skills, make sure your cash flow comes in, make sure you are building businesses and working for as long as you can. Again, I've said this before, I really don't believe in retirement so much. It's kind of what me and Nico always say is like, find your purpose and continue to work on that for as long as humanly possible. And that's how you live a fulfilling life. But with all that being said, I'm still convinced, and maybe this is just because of the era that I came into Bitcoin, that owning a full coin should be everyone's goal. I know now it's a little out of reach. It's more than what people make a year in salary. So obviously it's going to, like, most people don't have those funds, especially when you connect that with the idea that very few people have savings right now. I've been kind of looking into some of the statistics out there, especially for like millennials and Gen Zers out there. And it's ridiculous how little people have in savings. Like people living off like $6,000 and less. It's just like, it blows my mind how the fiat system has incentivized us to just live paycheck to paycheck and, you know, go out there and try to keep up with the Joneses. And us Bitcoiners, not saying that all Bitcoiners are frugal, but it's a totally different mindset where you are incentivized to save as much value as possible. Think about your future, lower your time preference so that whenever, you know, or rather God forbidding you get in a position where you need to live off your savings, like you have something there. You got to make sure that you are protecting yourself. Whereas in the fiat world, you're incentivized to just take out debt, you know, get yourself wrecked and live on big daddy government to protect you over here. But I really love that the new memes coming out from the newer Bitcoiners and new stacking goals really just goes to show how far we have come as Bitcoiners, and or rather maybe how old like Brian and Nico and I are in this Bitcoin journey. You know, we've been doing it 8, 7, 6 years now, and it's interesting how that number goes down, especially once you understand the number go up thesis. And you know, I've been seeing 50 million sats or half a coin, 10 million sats, like we're talking about. When I grew up in the Bitcoin space, we had American HODL basically saying 6.15, and now I see people saying like 0.615 and 0.0615. So it's funny how these memes start to iterate on themselves and people just, you know, lower the bar for stacking goals. And I think that just goes to show how powerful Bitcoin is as a savings mechanism, that over time your life does get cheaper on Bitcoin. Maybe Nico, maybe we pull up what's priced in Bitcoin 21 real quick. I know we haven't done that one in a minute, but it just...
Before we do that, I did pull up the ad early because Brian's on the show today. So I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Find local Bitcoiners.
Y'all are old.
And merchants near you. Join the 10,485 Bitcoin that are currently on the app. Download the Orange Pill app. It's one of the best ways to reach me via DM. I don't really answer Twitter. No, I don't answer Twitter DMs anymore. So if you want to reach me directly, send me a message on the Orange Pill app. It has a really clever filtration system. So you only find fellow Bitcoiners on the application. And it's a really cool like geographic feature. So if you travel to a new city, if you're brand new in town, you don't know any like-minded individuals around you because you don't really have anything in common with no-coiners anymore, the Orange Pill app is the resource for you. It's probably a good idea to build up that Bitcoiner Rolodex because I truly believe that Bitcoiners are going to be some of the most powerful, influential people next 5 to 10 years. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. Stack friends who stack sats. Download the Orange Pill app today. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. All right, everybody.
All right, wait, Nico,
I did want to give a shout out to our sponsors. The show wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. But so let's pull up
one last
price in
thought.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, one last thought, and then we'll pass it to Brian. While I said that, and I was looking in the chat, I was reminded of our boy CK Snarks, who constantly tweets, "None of us are bullish enough," and I have to echo that, because as a Bitcoiner, we obviously don't know where the price is going. All we know is it's going up forever, Laura, and infinity divided by 21 million. And I'm always reminded, and it always blows my mind. Like, I don't think any of us are bullish enough, because I fundamentally believe, and I say this probably like once a week, I'm like a broken record, where I'm convinced that any amount of sats that we hold today are going to be an incredible amount of wealth moving forward into the future. Obviously, you got to stretch your time frame out a little bit, but whatever you're holding today, if you can hold it for 10 years, it's going to increase in value. And I just fundamentally think most of us aren't wired to think that way, because we're so used to the fiat world. We're so used to our money or currency losing value that we forget that now we have the best store value period, the best money period, and it is Bitcoin. It doesn't leak value, and this is why you want to continue to save, continue to stack, always buy consistently, and hold on to that Bitcoin for as long as possible. Anyways, let's pass it to Brian. Or wait, Nico, pull up the site and then pass it to Brian.
Before we do it, I do want to give a shout out to Lightning Goats in the chat. Can we pay for Orange Pill app membership in sats, Brian?
You absolutely can. Yes, Lightning Goats. Big fan of the work, by the way. If that's the real Lightning Goats in the chat.
That is the Lightning Goat.
When you guys had him on the show, I was working. I was in the same office I'm at right now, and I just dropped everything I was doing. I was like, I just started feeding the goats. So that was like the greatest Simply Bitcoin episode of all time.
Dude, it was so good. I broke, like, because we're so used to like having guests, and he just Sat's a humble guy. He's a humble guy. He's reserved, and then all of a sudden he just pulls out these fucking goats, man, and it was just absolutely awesome. I love Bitcoiners. They just continue to build really, really cool shit. Also, we have Satoshi. I'm a lifetime member on OPA. So yeah, I'm cool with that. Lightning Bolt and Orange Heart. Anyways, I do want to pull up the price in Bitcoin 21. Is a website that we reference all the time. But essentially what it does is it tells you in percentage terms how much cheaper life is getting if you've been saving in Bitcoin. And it will tell you like a bunch of things that, we tend to use. So oil, gold. I mean, I don't know if you use gold anymore, but the S&P 500, perhaps you invest in stocks for whatever reason. The dollar, United States medium new house, even with housing prices going through the roof, if you've been saving in Bitcoin, this is what we're talking about, right? The retirement calculation is a little bit different, but essentially it's just a different way of saying the exact same thing we're saying, is that life gets cheaper when you transition to a Bitcoin standard. So even with housing doubling in the last, 2-3 years, housing has gotten 87% cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin for the last 5 years. It's gotten 75% cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin for the last 3 years. So this is what I mean. Like, saving in Bitcoin is superior to anything else you're doing. Brian, what's your take on all this, brother?
I think that it's really, really simple. We can get a lot, like it can be fun. If you've got 10 million sats, it's really fun to run the calculators. If you got 10 Bitcoin, it's really fun to run the calculators. If you have less than that, it can be a really good motivation. But if anybody's watching the show and that process made anybody feel like too far removed, or they're getting lost in the sauce on it, keep in mind that great minds think about the small edges they can get in life. I was just thinking about this as you were talking right now. For anybody that likes MMA or watched MMA, one of the greatest fighters of all time was this guy named George St. Pierre. And the guy was known for his insane training regimen. The guy had the most strict diet. He took every edge he could possibly do, but then he went beyond that. He had statisticians quantify all these different statistics about MMA that were things that were beyond his control. So what they found was that, when you went to the weigh-in and the guy that wore red, if you wore red, that guy tended to win like 5% of the time more. Or in a stare down, the guy who didn't smile tended to win 10% of the time more. Like there was all these little tiny edges that people didn't think were a big deal, but they were these small micro edges that were beyond. Because of course, in MMA, everybody's training hard, everybody's eating well, everybody's intense, everybody's been doing this for their entire lifetime. And so when you're in a world where there's traditional finance all around you, there's people in the fiat world. There's a lot of, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of NPCs in the fiat world. There's a lot of really smart people in the fiat world. There's still the Jerome Powells that are working against you. So the duty of the Bitcoiner, or the prerogative of the Bitcoiner, the wise Bitcoiner, is looking for every edge they can. And at the end of the day, every dollar in Bitcoin, every dollar that you convert into Bitcoin is outpacing the fact that if it would have stayed in that dollar, right? And so whether you can retire earlier or you're just running the race faster, that's what Bitcoin promises, is that you're going to run the race faster. Maybe that race is a faster race to retirement, or maybe it's just being able to buy more food for your kids when inflation spikes. Either way, you're putting yourself in an advantageous position because you're getting on the Bitcoin train.
100%. I 100% agree with that, man.
Wait, Nico,
Dude.
can I troll a little?
Yeah,
all right, guys, new meme just dropped. Bitcoin is the edge. I want to see the Edge U2 memes on Twitter right when the show ends.
Oh, man. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture. Lots to talk about. We're going to talk about Brian and what he's working on, his projects, his book, the Orange Plop. So much to get to. Anyway, let's hit the culture. Let's do it. Here we go.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, KABOOMRACKS, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. To get started, you can scan the QR code or check the link in the video/podcast description. That will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace, where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You can also access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. So, like I said, to get started, check the link or the QR code on your screen. And also, if you want to check out Instant Hosting, it's a special sale going on right now for an S19K Pro 120 terahashes. You can scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. Your hash rate goes online after your payment is confirmed. You own the miner. This is not a hash rate contract. The price includes a 3-month security deposit and first month. So if you want to start hosting instantly with KABOOMRACKS, you can check out their special sale going on live right now. All right, moving on to Opti and Brian. I always love it when Brian comes on the show. We have great conversation and really enjoy it. And man, I got to get a signed copy of the pre-release book, which I cherish very much. It's on my bookshelf of awesome books. And man, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh man, well, it was an honor. As people in the audience, a lot of Simply Bitcoin people have read the book and reached out. Thank you guys so much for being huge supporters. There's an entire chapter that's kind of an homage to Simply Bitcoin. It's tweets are the bullets and are sorry, how do they say it? Tweets are the bullets and memes are the artillery. That's the name of the chapter, and that's the chapter on counter propaganda is really very much encouraged by the work that you guys do here. And so that book's been a smashing success, again, because of the plebs. Its entire first week, it was #1 on Amazon in the inflation and monetary categories and all that kind of stuff. So guys, I just a pleb that decided to write a couple books in Bitcoin to push some ideas out there. That's what this thing is all about. I don't have this like incredible background that made me like super qualified or anything like that, but it's just one of those proof of work type of things that put the stuff out there. People liked it, people shared it. And it was in large part because of you guys. And so I can't say thank you enough. Nico, it was incredible to see you in Madeira and go out of your way. Like you were at the end of the day, you were ready to go home. You worked a 12-hour day and you stuck around for my talk at the end and got a copy of the book. So thank you so much for that. But the book is a really big idea. I think it's the first of the third generation of Bitcoin books. I've talked about this before, but I think it's a really, really cool kind of idea. There's the pre-Bitcoin books. There's the sovereign individuals. There's the Rothbards and the von Mises. There's those things that probably highly influenced Satoshi. And then there's the generation 2 or the second wave of Bitcoin books, which is like the Bitcoin Standard and Broken Money and Soft War and those types of things. The kind of understanding Bitcoin and what are the implications of Bitcoin. And now there's this new wave of books. I don't know if people have recognized that, but there's like a third wave, and I think Parallel fits in that category of the third wave. Is okay, I understand Bitcoin. I've orange pilled a few of my friends, but what now? Like, what's the next step? Is it just all about stacking, or is it about building something bigger and better for the future? And I think that's what Parallel represents. The cool thing is that Parallel, it's not destroying the existing system. It's literally just building a new and better system that deprives the old system of oxygen. If the old system survives on its own, then good for it. But if the Parallel system is out there, so I'm getting distracted by
that is so funny.
Yeah.
You went with the reviews.
Can we
I-
read the reviews?
No,
Yeah, there's a 2-star on there. No.
Wait, before you jump into it, you said something really wise, Brian, which is the fact that the existing system needs you as fuel. It needs human energy and time as fuel. Without it, it starves to death. Right. Could you go back, Opti? Because I'm going to read some of that. Dude, that is troll level, like 100, man. So starting off with Stalin, right? The dictator of the USSR, killed like 20 million Ukrainians. Anyways, goes on to say, here we are, have an attempt at literature that would have the likes of Marx and Engels spinning in their graves faster than a 5-year plan. In a style reminiscent of bourgeoisie player circle, Opti, you moved. And the spiritual memoir regales us with idiotic individualistic concepts for the capitalist swine. If plenty could be measured like tractor production, the author would surely exceed the quota. Saddam Hussein rates the book 1 star out of 5. The book's major flaw is its failure to recognize the importance of strong centralized leadership in maintaining order and national pride. The notion of dispensing financial power among the masses without controlling state apparatus would be seen as a recipe for chaos and weakness.
Amazing.
In my view, any system that diminishes the state's grip over its resources and its people, as the book proposes, is inherently flawed and a threat to the stability and the grandeur of a nation.
This one's wild right
Pol
here.
Pot, the guy who massacred everybody in I think it was Cambodia, the killing fields, I believe. And he goes on to say 0 stars out of 5. I might have killed a lot of people, but this book is somehow worse. The author clearly has no clue how utterly stupid the masses are. They must be controlled like a dog. They must be told what to do. And of course, you have Mussolini at the bottom. 2 out of 5. Hate the content. Well written.
That was my favorite one.
Oh man,
he had to give a little props. So that was so fun because we took old speeches and old content and dumped it into ChatGPT 4 and then asked it to read the book and then write a review. So that was as close as we could get to actual reviews from the dictators. I just thought I had so much fun with that.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
It totally is though. If you use ChatGPT, that completely changes the conversation. If you use ChatGPT and you input their speeches and you input the book and you're like, that is as close as humanly possible that you can get to those people actually saying those reviews. That is hilarious, man. That's incredible.
And part of it was because my wife, when I wrote Bitcoin Evangelism, she wasn't worried about that. I mean, she didn't even know if it was going to sell many books or anything like that. And so her concern was like, wow, okay, that's great. A book about helping people understand Bitcoin. That's not going to put you in the crosshairs of the powers that be. But writing a book like Parallel, that might put us in a position where we're targeted by people that we don't want to be targeted by. And so to me, putting the reviews of dictators and tyrants on the back saying that they don't like the book, to me was kind of like a 4D chess move. Because if Elizabeth Warren comes out and starts trashing Parallel or starts trashing the parallel economy, then I can just be like, well, that's right, because tyrants hate this book. like they give it poor reviews. So if you're a tyrant, then of course you hate this. And so that was kind of like a preemptive pre-strike, is if you're going to come out against the book, then you're in good company.
Absolutely,
Love it.
man.
Absolutely love it.
Anyways,
that is a 5D chess move,
bro. Go ahead, Abdi.
I was gonna pivot.
Yeah, let's talk about the orange pill app.
Okay.
And
All right, so I know you want to talk about one thing in specific, Brian, but there was a comment in the beginning, and I know you guys always get the same feedback: is why is an orange pill app free? And so to hit the elephant in the room, and for the audience that asked for it, why do they have to pay to get on orange pill app?
That is the greatest question in the world, and there's a really simple answer. It's the age-old adage of, and Bitcoiners, you understand this, and once it's brought up, they're like, yes, I get it. If something's free, then you're the product. If you pay for something, then it's the product. So at Orange Pill app, you pay for the app, and we're the product. We're at your beck and call. When you use Twitter or when you use Facebook, then it looks free, but there's a tremendous hidden cost. We ran a study. Facebook, they sell about, I think it's $32 of your data per month. So that's the inherent cost of Facebook, is about $32 a month of your data. I think Twitter is less. I think Twitter somewhere in the ballpark of $12 per month is what it sells of your data. So those apps certainly aren't free, but like Bitcoin mining, where the fees are up front and transparent, that's how Orange Pill app operates as well. The Bitcoin network isn't free. It's not free to send money across Bitcoin. Why do you think Bitcoiners complain about network fees all the time? Or it's time to consolidate our UTXOs because the fees are low. That's great. That's the beauty of Bitcoin, is it's transparent and it's upfront, and you know exactly what you're getting into. And if you don't want to send Bitcoin that day, then don't send Bitcoin that day, because maybe, the fees are high. But if it's worth it to you to send Bitcoin, then you go ahead and pay that fee. It's the opposite of Visa and MasterCard. Visa and MasterCard, they hide the fees, they collude and all that kind of stuff. That's the fiat mindset. Just like Twitter and Facebook hide their fees, and that's the fiat mindset of social media. The members of Orange Pill app, they know exactly upfront what they're getting and what they pay for. And so it's just a few bucks a month. You can pay in sats and have a lifetime membership if you want. That's my preferred method. That's what I do, because then you kind of pay and you can forget about it. But that's also part of the magic sauce where Nico talks about the filtration system. We have a few elements that help us sift out the crypto noise and the scammers and the spammers and the bots. But because there's a small paywall, it's pretty incredible how that filters out the noise. And so aside from it just being more transparent, a more Bitcoin ethos type of environment, it also is part of what filters it out and what keeps the ecosystem so high signal. So I tell people all the time, we're used to having a freemium model and everything. Like, why can't I use the app a little bit and then I'll pay for it later? Well, guess what? If we gave everybody even 1 day free of Orange Pill app, imagine how many spam messages would be sent from NFT guys in 1 day. The reason why you don't get NFT spam on Orange Pill app, you will not get it, is because there's a paywall. And so as soon as you get into the app, you start to recognize, like, wow, this is a different type of social networking experience. And the members on the app are completely different than any other type of environment you deal with online connections.
100%. I mean, because if you don't do that, like, you're gonna get a Twitter situation where you're gonna get, you're gonna get a random message from a very attractive
Asian woman that says she likes me.
Yeah, and she's saying that she's gonna send 2 Bitcoin if you send her 1, right? So yeah, I mean, that's like a way that's what Elon should have done, but he didn't, right? And that's how you get rid of the bots, because then it just becomes like totally economical to do it. And the only reason that they're able to do this is because they do it like on a mass scale, and they just throw this massive like fishing net. But like, it's not very economical if they have to do it like one by one, especially if they have to pay for an account. Like, the whole economics get, put on its head. So no, it's very clever, and it's a very good experience. Like, you'll pull it up, and you'll find fellow Bitcoiners that are near you, and it's clean. Like, you won't find like what what Opti was saying. Like, you won't find like the random attractive Asian woman. Like, maybe there is one on the app. I'm not saying there isn't, but you won't find the scammer kind. Anyways.
The poor Asian girls that are like cute and actually on Orange Pill app
that
are
are
just
actually
like,
real
nobody
people.
responds.
Oh man.
Nico,
Okay,
how dare you.
Nico, let's pivot this conversation a little bit because I know Brian wants to hit on something very important for the Orange Pill app. And I'm gonna pull up your QR code here from your Twitter, but I want you to touch on the idea that you were mentioning earlier about Orange Pill app being the official social app for Bitcoin Nashville 2024.
Yeah, no, this is super exciting news. We just announced it this week. But for anybody that's going to Bitcoin Nashville, we are the official social app of Bitcoin Nashville. So the reason why this is such a simple integration is because when you show up, and I don't know if anybody in Miami or at any of the conferences has had Orange Pill app, when you show up, it is so cool because when your feed, it's not people's posts, your feed is Bitcoiners that are near you. And so when you swipe up and you're scrolling through people and you see Nico and you see Opti and you see Breedlove and you see Natalie Brunell, these are all real Bitcoiners that you're in the general vicinity of that you can reach out to. So, and beyond that, beyond just being able to find individual Bitcoiners that are near you, you can find all of the Bitcoin events. We're the biggest repository in the world for Bitcoin only events. And that can't be understated how important that is. Meetup.com and all of these resources for quote unquote Bitcoin events, man, 50% of the time you're going to go and then you're going to hear a Web3 presentation at one of these Bitcoin meetups. And it's so frustrating and you feel like you wasted your time. But we also have a filtration process for our Bitcoin only events. So when you go to Bitcoin Nashville, you can find all the after hours type of stuff. And this is one of the things where I think a lot of people, if they're going into their first conference or if they don't know any Bitcoiners in the industry yet, they're like, man, I'm going to go to the conference from 9 to 5 and I've got that day planned out. But what do I do after 5 o'clock? Where are the events? Where's the Satoshi Nakamoto event? Or where is just a meetup with a few plebs for drinks? Or where's the guys that are going to go play pickleball or they're going to go and roll and do jujitsu? All of those things people will go find while they're on vacation. There's going to be an early morning workout for Bitcoiners. Great. You can go do that before the conference and you can find it through Orange Pill app. So it's a way you might not be like a Michael Saylor, right? That guy's got everything booked out for after the conference, before the conference, and everywhere in between. But the regular plebs, when we show up, we might not know what to do. Orange Pill app is a really, really robust solution for all of that. And it gives you like the Michael Saylor experience when you go to a Bitcoin Nashville type of conference. And so, you know what, I've had a bunch of people reaching out to me probably over the last couple months, just asking like, hey, how do I get started, working in Bitcoin? I tell them the number one thing to do is to show up to Bitcoin conferences, to Bitcoin meetups, to meet other Bitcoiners in real life. So whether you're just trying to get more connected because you want more Bitcoin friends, or you're trying to kind of make networking connections for, you want to work in Bitcoin full time, or you want to, have a part-time gig in Bitcoin, showing up to conferences, but especially those after hours meetups and parties, that kind of stuff is the way that you would get ingrained into the industry, because somebody shook your hand, somebody looked you in the eye, somebody gave you a hug, a pat on the back. All of those things are far more deep and important and ingratiating than just talking to somebody through a camera or just talking to somebody through text. So I cannot overstate enough how important it is to get out and make real life connections. And Orange Pill app is literally your tool to do that all the time, but especially at a big event like Bitcoin Nashville. It makes your experience so much better, so much more rewarding.
100%.
No, totally agree, Brian. And I just want to jump in a little bit. Yeah, I want to jump in on that because like Nico and I have experienced this, and I cannot emphasize on this show enough. Like, having connections with Bitcoiners on the internet is great and all, but when you take them into meet space, that's when like the real friendships and maybe even like the family you choose really takes hold. Like, I have a lot of friends from Bitcoin that I met on Twitter, and now I literally consider them family, and I know I'm going to be with them for a long time. And we can't overemphasize how important it is to take your relationships off the internet and meet them in real life. It's like one of the most important aspects of being a Bitcoiner is building these communities in real life.
100%. Opti and I have a very similar story. Like when we met each other for the first time, shout out Surfer Jim that convinced us to go to BitBlock Boom. And then many years later, no, a couple years later, like 2 or 3 years later, fast forward, we're doing the production for them, right? So like those are the types of things that happen that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for our initial meet in Meet Space the first time, right? So yes, in-person events are absolutely amazing, and the Orange Pill app is a great resource for you. And I know a lot of you guys are going to Nashville, so just download the Orange Pill app, scan the QR code. The link is also in the video/podcast description. Brian, seems like you wanted to say something.
Well, yeah, I mean, all I was going to say was people have told me like, man, Simply Bitcoin just talks about Orange Pill app all the time. Yes, Orange Pill app is a sponsor of the show, but guys, it's because this is a huge idea. Like the value of the Bitcoin network. I'm going to say something kind of inflammatory. Without Bitcoiners, Bitcoin isn't anything. Like you need to have Bitcoiners in order to make Bitcoin relevant and important. And so the social connections, the person-to-person connections of Bitcoin are really important. Like how big of a tragedy would it be if, and it looks like, things are changing, the Overton window is changing and things aren't going to be like this. But like, what if you just stack sat, you're a Bitcoin hermit, you stack sat and you have, 10 Bitcoin someday, but then the day comes where like CBDCs are everywhere and you don't have any Bitcoin connections, right? Like you don't have anywhere to spend your Bitcoin. There's no exchanges that will cash your Bitcoin back into fiat or anything like that. Like you've done all this time stacking, but then you kind of like miss the boat because there's nowhere to use that Bitcoin, right? And so whether it's like the really dark type of future like that, or it's the really bright future I think that we all think is going to happen, it's like how awesome would it be when Bitcoin wins in the future and you have all these Bitcoin connections? You're extra connected in an industry, in an industry where the rising tide lifted all boats. And not only did it lift your stack, it lifted your influence, it lifted your ability to have connections for your family. And why do Soros and guys like that, like why did those people who we deem as evil, why do they have so much power? It's not just because they have money, it's because they have connections. And so the way that we battle that type of really negative influence in the world is by building, that's why we talk about this a lot in the book Parallel, is building parallel systems of social connections. Like Soros and Bill Gates and all those guys, they have all sorts of power because they have all sorts of people who will listen to them because maybe the influence of their money, but the type of social clout that they have. Well, guess what? That's how we combat this. We combat this with a really positive, very fun social engagement. And we get to go party together. We get to go share stories and have fun. But while we're doing that, we're literally fighting a revolution by doing that. Every Bitcoiner you connect with is like a shot fired in this revolution, and it's peaceful, but you get to have fun doing it. And every time we do that, it's a vote. It's taking away from the existing status quo. So this isn't a small idea. This is like a really freaking big idea. The more that Bitcoiners connect, the closer we get to hyper Bitcoinization. So that really can't be overstated.
Love it.
Like, dude, oh man. And it is
Bitcoiner nepotism, good.
It's really like winning over the hearts and minds of people. Like it boils down to individuals really taking the orange pill, like no pun intended. So like it really like that's the whole point of this. And there's a human element to that. There's a meat space element to that. And I think that's, Orange Pill Labs, we say this every day. And another thing also, because I saw someone talk about sponsors in the chat, guys, we're extremely picky with who we like. If we were to take shitcoin like money at this point, I think Opti would have a golden yacht in the Caribbean. No, we're very picky on who we partner with, and we strictly partner with like Bitcoin only companies that adhere to our ethos. Like we really believe that, and we stick to that. So anyways, all that being said, Brian, man, I'm a huge fan, and I've seen the work that you guys have done over the last couple months and how far the app has come. And I remember when you guys rolled out dark mode, super fan. Simply Bitcoin has a group chat. Also, the groups thing was really cool that you guys rolled this out. And now I'm hearing that the event that you guys are coordinating with Bitcoin Magazine, and I'm looking forward to that, because that's a thing that I see at every conference every single time. Like, it's like, what is there to do tonight? Like, what is there to do? Now there's a resource. You literally, you download this app, bada bing, bada boom. And there you go,
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool being able to do the things that you love with Bitcoiners. When I went to Bitcoin Miami last year, I found 4 guys that like to do jujitsu. And so we went and we found a local gym and we asked the guy if we could pay this guy's never heard, I mean, he's heard of Bitcoin. He's never accepted Bitcoin, but we got him to download a Lightning wallet and we all paid our gym fees in Bitcoin. So we got to like advance the Bitcoin gospel while I got to meet, it was 2 new guys. I had one buddy with me. We had 2 new guys that I met through Orange Pill app that came and did jujitsu at some dude's gym, and we got to orange pill them a little bit. I've heard people, say the same thing about doing other sports or, like I said, early morning workouts. The kind of random social connections that we get is so rad. I've had 2 guys. I train a bunch of people out of my house every week in jiu-jitsu as well. And I've had 2 guys from Orange Pill app in the last couple of weeks show up. So I literally have more real life friends because of the Bitcoin connections. These aren't just people that are like ideological friends, or they're not just people that kind of share my perspective that are somewhere in the world. These are people, like you said, in the meat space that I'm, they're able to call if something goes down. These guys are literally just a call or a message away because they're my actual in real life friends. That is so cool. I've been in Bitcoin for 10 years. This type of tool did not exist. And so my early years of Bitcoin, I went wayward, right? That's why I think that a lot of Bitcoiners from back in the day went into the altcoin space and stuff like that, is because we didn't have a lot of high signal friends. We were just going by what we were reading online, and we didn't have a lot of stuff to ground us. But when you have in real life Bitcoin friends, I don't think we're going to see the same type of ICO Bitcoiners, running for things like Ethereum and stuff like that, because we have enough signal around us now, because we have enough real life connections to keep us, on the straight and narrow.
Amen.
Actually, can I jump on that note? Because I literally said that this morning to my buddy Joe Rogers. He does the physical zine at Bitcoin Magazine, and I'm like, everything I do now, I literally just think of like my friends in real life, and I'm like, am I lost in the sauce, or will my friends keep me in check? And he's like, I totally agree. Like that's the importance of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Anyways, last 2 sets, Brian. Life advice, orange pill advice, parallel plug. What's the last message you want to leave with the audience?
Well, guys, if you want to go, sign up at Orange Pill app. It's just orangepillapp.com. You can sign up for a personal account. If you're a brick and mortar business, by all means, please sign up your business. You can help, have local Bitcoiners find you. There's an easy way to accept Bitcoin for the first time ever. There's just a really easy integrated way through Orange Pill app if you have a business. My barber, I found him through Orange Pill app. It's just a good way to start stirring up the parallel economy. My advice for people, if you want to get inspired for the parallel economy, go read Parallel. But here's a little tidbit. A lot of Bitcoiners, they're like, screw that. I'm not spending my Bitcoin. I love the idea of the parallel economy, but like, I'm not spending. I'm hodling only. That's fine. Go ahead. Do you just start accepting Bitcoin? You provide value to the marketplace. I don't know whether you're a computer program, your alignment, or whatever you have, whatever skill you have, there's somebody that's paying you fiat for it. That means that there's also somebody that's willing to pay you in Bitcoin for it. So just start accepting Bitcoin. That's step 1. It's a crawl, walk, run type of thing. And if we just get more people accepting Bitcoin, that means that's stage 1 of the parallel economy. And that's all we need. So you don't have to worry about losing any of your sats. If anything, you're only going to accrue more sats. And that does, unfathomable good for the building of the parallel economy.
Amen to that, bro. Oof, Brian dropping hot fire. Guys want more of these bits? Go check out his book, Parallel. And man, Brian, I always enjoy it when you come on the show, and appreciate it, dude. Thank you.
Likewise, my friends.
Thank you, man. All right, guys, that was the Simply Bitcoin live episode for June 12th, 2024. I'm your host, Nico. It's my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and our guest for today, Brian DeMint. So, guys, go check out his work. Huge fan, and seems like you guys really enjoy these types of episodes. Currently 1,800 live viewers, another 50, 60 of you guys watching live on Rumble. So we're going to be doing these every month, and we're going to just change it and compare and contrast the insanity that is saving for retirement in the fiat system versus saving for retirement in Bitcoin. So looking forward to those episodes. We're going to keep giving you guys what you guys want, right? Anyways, guys, love you all.
Looks like some of you guys can retire in 4 months.
Love you all. And we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Episode was brought to you by bitcoinwell.com, on a mission to enable independence.
Whoopty.
Pay me in sats if you want to see me.
It's me, Chrissy.
I'm sending